What's up, Whisper Nation? It's another Face-Off Friday here with Johnny Game Time Hicks and me, Big Travie. We're going to dive into a couple guys that are close in ADP, as we do every Friday, and give you guys our takes on which one you should take. But before we do and we decide which guy we're going to debate, we want you to tell us below, Chris Carson or LeVeon Bell.
Right here.
And if you're new to our channel and like our content, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well as that bell. We release content pretty much every single day, and as well as please jam that thumbs up button. It really helps our channel grow tremendously. All right, Travis, they're here for this debate. Let's get into it. Let's figure out who gets to debate who and our Mad Dog coin flip.
All right, this week we are deciding between Chris Carson, which will be heads, and LeVeon Bell, which will be tails. All right, it is Big Travie's decision, and he gets tails, so he gets LeVeon Bell. I will be arguing Chris Carson. Let's go.
I don't know why.
Mad Dog coin flip.
I don't know, dude. It just came off of the. It came.
Mad Dog coin flip.
I don't know, man. It just felt right.
Dude, I love it.
It just felt right. But as usual, you got exactly who you wanted.
Oh,
and LeVeon Bell, you get LeVeon.
We're sitting here getting ready for this show, and Johnny goes, I really hope you get LeVeon Bell, dude. I do not want LeVeon Bell. And then Johnny, of course, does the coin flip. I get LeVeon Bell, but that's fine.
No,
Johnny,
Whisper Nation,
who
do you believe? Big Travie over here, or the guy who actually has LeVeon Bell, who is on his wall right now on the jersey. So you tell me, Whisper Nation,
why don't we ask the Magic 8 Ball here?
Bring it on.
Did Johnny rig the coin toss? It is decidedly so. Of course.
Oh,
of course
yeah.
He did.
I'm sure you just read that, too. You just decided that you were going to pick that.
Listen, that's what came up.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Well, I think the people came here because they wanted to see you try to, I don't know, climb an uphill battle and decide that people should take LeVeon Bell over Chris Carson. So I will give you the floor first since I have the easier debate because Chris Carson is currently coming off the board before LeVeon Bell already. So we'll give you the floor first.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about LeVeon Bell because I think the hate went a little too far last year. Obviously, he was probably being drafted a little too high last year going in the first round, given what he gave us at the end of the year. It was not very good. He was running back 22, I believe, in fantasy football.
Yeah, RB 21 and half
RB
point.
21, yeah. So that was not a great finish for a guy being drafted in the first round. But you have to look at what was going on around him. I mean, last year he had 3.2 yards per carry. That is not a LeVeon Bell average of his career. He's used to an offensive line in Pittsburgh that's really good. He did not get that with the Jets, but the Jets are quietly making some moves in this offseason to get that offensive line back in shape. They drafted Mekhi Becton in the first round. They also drafted Cameron Clark in this year's draft, so 2 tackles there. They also picked up Connor McGovern, former Bronco, to fill in at center here. So I really like the pieces that they've done here to get that line back in shape. You talk about the other pieces around LeVeon Bell. Sam Darnold, probably not battling mono twice, hopefully.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Knock on wood there. Darnold should be back and healthy all year, playing a full season with his star running back. You should have Chris Herndon back, which would be a nice piece to keep the chains moving. They've got Denzel Mims, who they drafted, and then also Brashad Perriman comes to town. So a couple pieces to get the offense rolling. I really like where they're at there. The bottom line is Bell did underperform last year, but look at the monstrous volume he got, Johnny. 245 carries, 66 receptions. That's 311 touches, Johnny. That's not falling off trees out there in the fantasy football world. Like that's 300 touches is pretty good stuff. You want that out of your RB1. And if you can get him at the 3-4 turn or in that 3rd, 4th round, like that's pretty good. 7th most in running back receptions last year, no matter what the fluctuation at quarterback was. 11th most in attempts, rushing attempts. He had 19 carries within the 20 last year, Johnny, 9 carries within the 10, and he only scored 3 touchdowns. Like his touchdowns to come up, like his volume to stay pretty much the same. The offensive line is improved, and all the weapons around him are probably improved. improved. I think all this spells for a bounce back year for Le'Veon Bell, and you're getting him at the discount this year because everybody got burned on him last year. Chris Carson, great back, but give me Le'Veon Bell with all this volume, man.
Hey, I got to hand it to you, Big Travie. I mean, you did a pretty solid job of arguing for Le'Veon Bell. And listen, the story was real interesting and real intriguing with the long list of free agents that they brought in and draft picks. But interesting, you failed to mention two major pieces that they brought in at the very position Le'Veon Bell plays, and that is Frank the Tank Gore, who refuses to retire from the NFL, and then they go out and get P. Ryan in the draft.
Wait, hold on a second. Did you say they picked up viable pieces and then try to tell me Frank Gore and Samaje P. Ryan?
Hey, don't you diss?
Man.
Don't you be dissing?
I love it. You're making my case. Keep going, Johnny.
Don't you be dissing
Whatever
Frank the
you
Tank
are gonna
Gore,
say
all right?
next. Whatever you're going to say next has got to just butter up the Bell case.
Oh, okay. That's just I'm just stating obvious. You listed off all these players. All right. Well, I'm going to tell the people why they need to go with Chris Carson over Le'Veon Bell, frankly, because you can't get both. So, Chris Carson, currently the RB18 coming off the board. Let's still remember he's only 25.8 years old. I know it seems much older than that, but he's not that old. And then let's just look at what he's done in this league to see if we should trust in maybe where that ADP is, whether we should have high expectations of Chris Carson. Well, in 2017, he was that fantasy darling that you picked up off the waiver wire. I mean, Big Travie could not stop talking about his gem that he found in Chris Carson. And then, unfortunately, we all know the story. His leg blew up, had to get air casted out. It was a terrible story. So he comes back in 2018 and has a pretty solid year. I mean, breakout year for most people's standards. He was a RB14, RB16 on a points per game basis. He had 247 attempts. He did only play 14 games. So people said once again, oh, well, he can't stay healthy. So let's knock him a little bit. In 2019, so his ADP slipped a little bit as well, but he finished as the RB9 despite everyone's disrespect of Chris Carson. He was the RB12 on a points per game basis with 278 attempts total, Travis, at the running, had 9 total TDs, okay? So he played 15 games, so he missed a game. He had the major hip injury. People were concerned as to whether or not he'll be able to come back. Everything is a full go to, based on reports, it's looking like he's going to be good to go. Now, over those last two seasons, I want to note that Seattle was number 2 and number 3 in rushing offense. Both those 2 years, I don't expect that to change very much. They might go to 4th and continue that trend, but still, you're looking at over 500 rushing. No Rashad Penny to start the year off, so you want to start off hot. That's what fantasy football is all about. You might say, oh, well, Johnny, you were just knocking Travie for the running backs that they brought in. Carlos Hyde, you can argue, is better than all of them. And I would say, all right, sure, Carlos Hyde might be better than all of them. But what
you said it because I was about to.
But here's the thing. One, Chris Carson is not Carlos Hyde is not a pass-catching running back. We know this. We've seen it throughout his career. He is not good pass-catching. So Chris Carson's receiving game could actually go up because they don't have another pass-catching running back on the roster as of right now. And Carlos Hyde, let's be honest, they already have said, Pete Carroll has already talked about, unlike the New York Jets coach, which I'll talk about in a second, Pete Carroll has already come out and said, hey, Chris Carson is our guy. We are going to go with Chris Carson. Meanwhile, you have them asking Mr. Wide Eyes over there in December, hey, is Le'Veon Bell going to be your running back next year? Well, he's under contract. Sure, yeah, he's under contract. That's all he says. So is that the kind of confidence you want in your guy, or do you want your coach coming out and saying,
look,
hey,
if we're sitting here debating coaches versus coaches, 100%, Pete Carroll's going to win that debate. I think that's great. But if we're talking about talent around them, Is Frank Gore more of a threat than Carlos Hyde? No, he's not. Bottom line, he is not more of a threat to Le'Veon Bell than Carlos Hyde is to Chris Carson, because they do run so similar. Now, did Carson improve his pass catching last year? I think so. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, he doubled. He went from
37 receptions. That's pretty nice. I'll give you that. But even with those receptions and the more carries he got, that's still not more touches than Le'Veon Bell got in the Jets offense last year. So Le'Veon Bell he's grandfathered in with that massive contract. No matter what kind of mind games Gase wants to play, they have a GM now. It's not going to be Gase, okay? They have money, big money committed to Le'Veon Bell. They're going to run the ball with him, and they've improved the offensive line. I really like where Le'Veon Bell is right now, and I understand the concern. But I think Le'Veon Bell.
Here's what I'll also say. Just one last thing. So you talked about the goal line carries. Le'Veon Bell only had 4 last year. Chris Carson over the last 2 years, 8 goal line carries and 12 goal line carries. So I'll take that. And look at this. I would take Chris Carson over. These are the 3 running backs going before Chris Carson: Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, and Melvin Gordon. Those are all more iffy to me than Chris Carson is. And then the 3 running backs going after Chris Carson: Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, and David Johnson. So, I mean, you could say, the one knock that Chris Carson has is his injury concern, when all of those guys going around him have just as much injury concern as Chris Carson. He continues to be disrespected. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 8 back again this year. So I'll give it to me there.
Well, we want to know what you think, Whisper Nation. Did Johnny take home the crown with Chris Carson, or was it Big Travie bringing it to you with Le'Veon Bell? We want to know which one you would pick in this scenario. Go ahead and comment below. As always, hit like and subscribe. I'm Big Travie. That's Johnny Game Time Hicks. We're the Fantasy Whispers. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.